Joining me now is the Republican senator from Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey. Good morning, Senator Toomey.
Good morning, Martha.
You know, you've been one of the most outspoken Republican critics of the president's tariff tactics. How concerned are you that these new tariffs will further disrupt both the U.S. and the global economy?
Well, unfortunately, we're starting from a very strong economy right now. You know, record low unemployment, accelerating wage gains. We've got a great economy, but I do think that the uncertainty caused by the volatile tariff situation and this developing trade war could jeopardize that strength and that growth, and that is, I think that's a legitimate concern. And it's, by the way, it goes beyond China, right? I mean, you know, we saw last spring the president threatened to, one morning woke up and threatened to impose big new tariffs on everything coming out of Mexico unless they cooperated sufficiently on an unrelated issue. That's a country we have a free trade agreement with. So the uncertainty that we have, the added costs from tariffs, I think they're a threat to growth.
You know, the president has repeatedly asserted China is paying for the tariffs, not American consumers. Would you say he is misleading the public?
Well, it's mixed, right? I mean, the Chinese currency has weakened, and to the extent that the currency is devalued, that does mitigate against the increased cost of the tariffs because it just makes Chinese products cheaper to buy. But I would underscore there's an important part that sometimes gets left out of that, and that is that China is an important part of the U.S. supply chain. Many manufacturers buy components and supplies and materials from China. And while the devaluation of the Chinese currency can offset part or even all of the tariff cost for that manufacturer, if the manufacturer is competing with a European company or someone from some other country in the world that doesn't have tariffs, they're buying those components at the lower cost because of the devaluation as well, and they're not absorbing the cost of a higher tariff. So it still puts American business at a competitive disadvantage.
You probably saw there, I spent a couple of days in your state, including right there in Allentown. And while some are very worried about the tariffs, others say it's a temporary pain and they support the president's plan. Why would you argue? What would you argue with them about it not being temporary?
Well, I hope it is temporary, and I give the president credit for challenging China on some of its really egregious behavior. The theft of intellectual property and coercive technology transfers, that is unacceptable behavior. I would have preferred a different set of tactics, but the president deserves credit for challenging China. My hope is that that's what his focus is, not just the fact that Chinese clothing and shoes are popular among consumers. That's not the problem. The problem is this abuse and threat of ongoing theft of intellectual property. If we get the Chinese to change their behavior in a meaningful way in that area and then drop the tariffs, then we will have ended up in a better place. That's what I'm hoping for. But let's be honest, in the meantime, we're doing damage. It's a double-edged sword.
And the president, you brought up Mexico. The president has used a similar strategy before. He says his tariff threats on Mexico got them to help flow the stem of migrants. So has the president ramping up the pressure, in effect, succeeded in some way to bring China back?
I think it's unclear, right? I mean, what we've seen so far is retaliatory tariffs. We haven't seen a change in Chinese behavior. It looked for a moment there some months ago like we were close to a really significant deal. The Chinese seem to have walked away. So I don't think we'll know until we actually have an agreement.
And Senator, I want to turn to gun control with last night's terrible mass shooting. You've sponsored a bill to expand background checks on gun sales to online purchases and to gun shows. You've expressed some optimism that this may pass. Do you think you have President Trump's backing and other Republicans?
Well, I will tell you, I have spoken with the president repeatedly and recently about this topic. He is very interested in doing something meaningful. He hasn't endorsed a specific bill. I think that would be premature, but he and I have an ongoing conversation about this. I know other interested senators are participating in that conversation, and our staffs, including the White House staff, are very seriously pursuing this. Martha, I can't guarantee an outcome. I'm not sure where this all ends. But the president is very interested. Remain very interested in measures that would make it harder for people who shouldn't have guns to get guns. And we're gonna take a very serious run at it.
Thank you very much, Senator Toomey, for your thoughtful response. We appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.